Well, welcome again, everyone. Thank you for joining the USIS webinar today. My name is Dan Metzger. I'm a member of USIS. I'd like to just quickly get us started by describing who USIS is as a group and what we're doing. Our mission is to build public support for utility-scale solar that goes directly into New York's power grid. Our efforts will help promote clean, emission-free solar power by distributing the facts about solar technology. USIS represents a wide range of stakeholders that include farmers, grassroots organizations, youth groups, educational institutions, labor, families, and businesses who all want to help us do this. It's time for positive change, and all of you on this call can help USIS accomplish this important step towards a brighter future together. You can visit our website at usisnewyork.org, and I'll go ahead and put that in the chat so you can take a look at that anytime. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our moderator, Giuseppina, to get us started. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dan, and thank you everyone for joining us today to discuss the benefits of utility-scale solar and the job opportunities that are available. I am Giuseppina Agovino. I am a member of Friends of Flint Mind Solar in Coxsackie and Athens, which has recently joined USIS. Happy to be on to join this discussion on the benefits of large-scale solar projects. It's encouraging to see that at a time when employment has hit an all-time low, jobs in solar development is headed for a record all-time high. We hope that some of you take this opportunity to learn and join this progressive industry. So just to let everyone know, we are recording this webinar and it will be posted along with speaker slides and emailed out to afterwards. If you have questions for our speakers, please type them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and Dan will read them out to the speakers after the presentation. I encourage everyone to use the Q&A because if we do not get to you now, we can respond to you later on. But if you do it on the chat, it will not record your questions. I believe that Harrison Watkins will get the show started for us today. He is the research director at NYS Laborers Organization Fund. He will give us a brief introduction of NYS Laborers work with renewable projects and the different opportunities that are available because of clean energy. Take it away, Harrison.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. Again, my name is Harrison Watkins, and I serve as the research director for the New York State Laborers Organizing Fund. We're part of the Laborers International Union of North America, which represents over 500,000 workers in the United States and Canada. And New York State Laborers Organizing Fund represents approximately 40,000 brothers and sisters in New York State. So I just wanted to start off by talking a little bit about laborers' history with working in renewables. So we have a long history working on grid scale renewable projects, includes projects here in New York State. Specifically, we worked on and helped build one of the first grid scale renewable wind farms, the Maple Ridge project. And so we are, proud to be here and support the development of grid scale solar projects in New York State. One thing that I want to touch on here is, as we talk about the jobs and training angle in renewables, is to emphasize that construction is a career for our members. It's not just a job. So we often talk about these projects in terms of the benefits of the jobs they create, but I would encourage everyone to think about the careers that can be built through this work in renewables as well. And we think that's an important way to view these. You're not just creating, a lot of times with opposition to grid scale renewable projects, something we hear at public hearings all the time is, well, all these projects, it's just a temporary job. And the thing is, in construction, all the jobs are temporary, but the career lasts a lifetime. So we just want to make that clear. So one thing I wanted to talk about in terms of what the laborers are doing, and I know Trey's brother, Mike Bader, will talk about this more in terms of apprenticeship, but these projects create a lot of jobs, and that creates demand, right? And so I just want to take a second to share my screen and show folks some of what we're about related to renewables, right? Oh, okay, I can't share my screen at the moment, so I'm just going to talk you through it a little bit. Not a problem. So, we are focused on, renewable energy across the country and New York State. And, those projects have created an explosion of jobs in New York and across the country. And so we've been faced with doing a lot of recruitment for this work. And, we get people into this work in a variety of different ways. One of the things that I wanted to highlight that we're doing in terms of not just renewable projects and solar projects, but all projects is online recruitment. Okay, I'm going to give it another shot here. Okay, and so, one of the things that we're doing and trying to roll with the times here in the world pandemic that we're in is figure out how to engage members of the community, with these career opportunities, right? And so we're doing digital recruitment. So if you had a question about, okay, so I have some skills, how can I get involved in building renewables? We're doing online recruitment in areas of the state where we need to enlarge our workforce right here. And so I'm happy to answer any questions about that in the Q&A process. Another thing, more generally speaking, about the renewable jobs industry in New York State is I wanted to touch on that, green jobs have to be good jobs, right? So there's often a lot of talk about this idea of a just transition, right, away from fossil fuels, right, towards renewables. But one thing I want to emphasize is that you cannot leave workers behind, the people that build your infrastructure, the things you depend on every day, right? And that's why it's so important that these jobs pay family-sustaining wages and are safe for the people that build them and safe for the communities that they're located in. And as a union, speaking from the union perspective, we believe that that's what we bring to the table there. And I would like to just thank Governor Cuomo and Nyserda for ensuring that prevailing wage is attached to grid-scale renewables that from Nyserda, and we think that's a very important component of ensuring that that green jobs are good jobs, stay good jobs, and allow people, to bring back that money to their communities where they live. And one more note, and just in terms of training, is that the building trades, union trades, we have extensive training, so in terms of, I'll leave apprenticeship to Mike, but we're highly invested in making sure that our members go to work with the skills that they need to tackle these projects, that they know when they get on, solar job site, they know what they need to do, on that job. And so I just wanted to quickly show folks, so we're, we believe in apprenticeship. We've been at the renewables industry for a long time, and that also, as union members, we understand that we have a role to play in advocacy, right, and trying to get these projects across the finish line. So we're not only do we build them, but we try to make them happen as well, as try to get them through the approval process. New York State just came up with a reform of the Article 10 process, right? And so we participated in that. So we take this whole thing very seriously, not just working on the job, building it well, but also making sure it happens. So again, thank you so much for having me, and I'll leave it to Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, Harrison. Next, we have Mike Bader, the business manager at the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers for Local 86, who will walk us through how to get more info and sign up for apprenticeships and job trainings. Mike?
All right, thank you. As Harrison said before, the building trades are recruiting heavily for the apprenticeship positions. No matter what trade you want, we're going to talk about, I'll show you how to get on board with it. And we do partner with one another. You may wonder why the laborers and the electricians, but it's all the building trades across New York State do work together to fill these jobs and put people to work and push for the benefits and wages as we do. One thing typically, or with the union benefits and wages that we get, we do have pay equality. There is no difference between male or female or race or anything like that. All journeymen and women are paid the same amount across the board, which is huge if you've heard about things like that. So New York State actually has a great website. Let me pull that up on my screen. All right, so you should have up there the New York State Department of Labor website. Great website, a lot of resources on here based on what you're looking for. You can do that. So what you would do if you're looking for an apprenticeship, once again, any apprenticeship. The apprenticeship model is typically earn while you learn. The apprenticeship programs are from 3 to 5 years long based on the trade. There's a requirement for the amount of school you should be taking along with the on-the-job training, and that's the big part. You know, you're not just learning out of a book. You're working side by side with a journey worker who is teaching you these jobs day to day, day in and day out, start to finish on these certain projects. So New York State Department of Labor website, if you go to find a job, right down to the apprenticeship tab, pull that up. It's very intuitive, actually. Now you're looking for job seeker. That's what you want. You're going to, from job seeker, you go down to current recruitments. Now every apprenticeship program, typically across New York State, that's currently recruiting should be on here. There's, they got the dates of the recruitment. These are updated yearly based on how many apprentices they're putting in their program. Some of them you'll see, they have amendments or they're being postponed right now. A lot of those, if you just call that particular training center, they'll find out what the new recruitment standard is. They've just closed things down with the COVID ID. So if you're looking, and they've got all the different regions, Capital Region, that's the Adirondack region and Albany area there. You can scroll all the way through this. I'm not going to do it for you based on where you live. You want to find that trade you're interested in that particular jurisdictional region where you live. That just makes the most sense. That way you're not traveling. And once again, once you're a journey worker, you can travel across the state and country. Your training is recognized throughout. So if you're a journeyman in New York State, you're considered a journeyman in California, and that's how that works. So if you find which one you want, we can use, there's the electricians, but there's all the other trades on there. If you don't think you have to do just electricians, all the different trades, whatever you're interested, you can apply to more than one. But down at the bottom of there, the Northeastern Apprenticeship, for those of you who are interested in line work instead of outside work, that would be the line workers. They cover a large part of New York State. They do the utility tie-in, and they're going to be doing the infrastructure. So don't just think solar fields, green projects and things like that. Somebody's got to do, along with it, the updated infrastructure. So if you went to, let's say, Tri-City Electricians, JTC, a lot of them are going to say JTC. That's the Joint Apprenticeship Training Center. On there. So you're going to go through there. It's going to tell you, each one of those ones you click on is going to tell you when they're taking applications, when the recruitment period, whether it's year round or whatnot. Minimum qualifications, 18 years of age, high school diploma, or a task or GED, whatever you have at that particular time. There may be a testing requirement for your apprenticeship. There may be a drug testing requirement, and they'll list all the requirements, and then you see down here is a jurisdictional region of where you're going to be working if you're in that. And by all means, you can call any training center. They'll be more than happy to explain, exactly what the job details, what their jurisdiction is, and what it entails, and how to get in on that. And there's, once again, it's a great resources across New York State. And the best part about it, I'm going to say most, if not all, of the union trade apprenticeships are free. There is no cost to you. All you have to do is show up, work hard every day, and as Harrison said, turn it into a career. It's a great way of life. I've been doing it for 28 years. It's worked out well for myself and my family. That's all I should have for now.
Thank you, Mike. Next, we have Haylee Ferington from Clean Energy Communities Coordinator and Genesee Finger Lake Regional Planning Council. She will review more job opportunities and how the community benefits from large-scale solar. Haylee?
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Let me get this in slideshow here. Well, don't know. Hang on. Maybe that's the right one I want. All right, well, we'll do it like this. I'm not sure why it's not popping up on my full slide here, but that's okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Haylee Farrington. As Giuseppina mentioned, I'm the Clean Energy Community Coordinator for the 9-county Genesee Finger Lakes region. My program is funded through Nyserda, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. And my goal is to assist communities transition to more energy efficient systems and reduce overall greenhouse gas emissions. So quickly, we'll just go right into the Nyserda 2019 job report. Each year, Nyserda comprises a job report so that they can assess how the industry is doing. And what I think is important to note is that not only were there nearly 159,000 clean energy jobs in 2018, but that number is expected to grow every year by 12,000 more in 2019 and moving from there. On this slide, what I want to highlight is that 22,000 jobs were backed by the solar market, so that's specifically applicable to this. And as Harrison and Michael mentioned, those trades and skills can be applicable to other positions as well. Here we see that, again, the clean energy sector is growing by double that of the traditional energy sector. So when thinking about making a career move for yourself, it's a smart move to make. And the energy transition isn't limited to one county or a region of the state. As you can see here, it's widely applicable. So wherever you are, you can find a clean energy industrial hub to be part of this industry. As of Q4 in 2019, the Solar Energy Industries Association declared that there was 10,740 people employed specifically in solar. And again, with more projects coming on, we only can anticipate that number to continue to grow going forward. And if you are a business looking to perhaps get some clean energy training programs for bringing people on, these are some ways that you can do that, and that the state through Nyserda can help provide funding and training programs for your businesses. All these links will be active, so after the webinar here, feel free to go back and use this as a resource and go through all those links. Now I'm going to quickly transition from talking about jobs to talking about how we can create a community benefit at a broader scale. And so I've created these 5 bubbles that I'll talk about a little bit more. So when you have a solar project coming into your town, the first thing that you would want to do is assess the needs and the wants of the community. And that really needs to be a full spectrum dig. So are there outdated infrastructures? What parks maybe need to be upgraded? What municipal building stock can maybe use improvements? Are there other outlets for energy efficiency? Maybe even arts communities and things of that nature. So using those needs and wants of the community to create a narrative surrounding what a solar project and engaging in the clean energy transmission could mean for a community. And then you're going to take that narrative and go out with that to gather additional stakeholders and resources. And this could be technology partners, academic institutions. Nyserda has ample amount of resources. Our community coordinators are always here as resources as well. Putting all those together to create what your ask is going to be. after you gather these additional stakeholders and resources, you want to make sure that you plan. So almost creating a comprehensive plan, a 10-year outlook. What does this project's impact look like, not only tomorrow, but going forward into the future, so that you can educate the community members that it is an important and an impactful transition, that it does not only produce jobs, but these additional community benefits. And then finally, it seems kind of silly, but my last bubble is ask. A lot of times, that's the one thing that people forget to do. They don't think it'll be a possibility, and often it is. And if it becomes a no or a maybe, you can use that 10-year plan and the stakeholders and resources that you have to always revisit those ideas and go back to the drawing board at any point. So quickly, I'll touch on 2 communities that currently are in the process of receiving some benefits through large-scale utility projects. The town of Mount Morris, through the contract with the developer, will put in an EV charging station alongside grants from Nyserda. So again, pooling those resources and stakeholders. They're going to install a solar PV array to offset their municipal electricity use, which can be communicated and benefits to the taxpayers by reductions on what they're paying annually. And then finally, they found that there was some cemeteries that were in need of repair, and so they can use some of the funds to go to that. So again, kind of thinking out of the box to build the community benefits. And then in Yates County, they put a 35 megawatt landfill redevelopment project on an outdated landfill, which is currently the biggest in the state. So not only now does that land have a second use, but the county residents are eligible for 10% reductions on their utility bill through signing up in this program. And currently, most programs of this similar nature are offering 5% reduction. So again, this landfill redevelopment and the negotiations they were able to do was able to increase that community benefit. My last 2 slides that I have for you, I want to leave you with resources so you can do some of this educating and planning that I was mentioning. Here, for communities and businesses, please reach out to your Clean Energy Community Coordinator. And for businesses and residences, please go to your Clean Energy Engagement Program. And those links are all active as well. And then my final slide, I have a bunch of resources for both municipalities and residents that I encourage you to look at. So with that, I will give it to Giuseppina, who will talk about some community benefits that the Friends of Flint Mine Solar were able to achieve in their process.
Thank you, Haley. Again, I'm Giuseppina Agovino, and I started a small group in Coxsackie, Athens, which is Greene County. Our group is called Friends of Flint Mine Solar. Our project is a 100 megawatt of clean energy that will be generated for New York. Flint Mine Solar, some of the benefits for our community will be, it totals $50 million over the life of the project that our community will be getting. It'll create 100 of good paying jobs during and after construction. I know a lot of people don't say that the jobs that solar creates are permanent jobs in the community, but some of them will be. And the ones that don't, there's other projects that will be built. For our project, the Flint Mine project will preserve landscape of forests, wetlands, and rare plant and animal species. It will secure the watershed of a lake nearby, which is Sleepy Hollow Lake. And Flint Mine has agreed to put 250 acres of grassland habitat into raptor habitat and reserve it. It has also, it would also purchase 50 acres and put into preservation an important archaeological site on Flint Mine Hill. So that's another benefit to our community. Our organization is a very small, just group of grassroots farmers mostly, who really think that a project like this would boost our economy in our community, and it will bring unbelievable amount of benefits. The way we found out about our project was through our developer, and the way we keep up is through the developer. The developers have open houses in the community. So if you are looking for jobs, that's also a place that you can look, is at the open houses of each project in the communities. They usually have sign-up sheets for community employment at the open houses. And that's a good way to learn about projects and jobs and how else you can get involved in each specific project. And I guess I will send it over to Dan now to pick up on the Q&As. And I encourage everyone to write your questions in the Q&A so we can get to you if we don't get to you now. Dan?
Wonderful. Thank you all very much. We have a ton of great questions already, and I just want to encourage folks, as Giuseppina just said, to put those questions in the Q&A, and we'll try to get to as many of them as possible. So I want to jump in on one that just came in, and picking up on what you were just saying, Giuseppina, the question is, what are some of the jobs that are permanent after a project has been built? You mentioned some of them.
Well, some of the permanent jobs in our community will be, they will need landscapers to keep up with the way the project looks. There will be the land that's going under permanent conservation. They will have to put someone in charge of that conservation land. So that's a permanent job. I can't really think of many more, but our project is a 100 megawatt project. So it's going to be on 600 acres of land. Actually, another job would be, they are encouraging putting livestock, sheep actually, on part of it. So we're going to have to hire people to help with the sheep. So we're trying to kind of keep a rural look by adding sheep to our and agriculture to our sites. So that's another job. So there will be farming jobs available as well.
Great. And I have a related question on training. So maybe this is a good one for Harrison or Mike. Are any of the trainings taking place in New York City?
I'll start, and I'm sure Harrison can echo whatever I say. But oh yes, there's definitely apprenticeship opportunities in New York City. That's probably the largest locals across the state. We have Local 3 downstate representing the inside wiremen, but they've got a great state-of-the-art training center down there. It's happening everywhere. The building trades, you can't get out of construction, and New York City is a huge hub of construction and maintenance and ongoing. So it is happening down there.
Yeah, Mike is exactly right. I mean, there are a ton of fantastic apprenticeship programs across the building trades in New York City. It depends on the trade that you're interested in. Obviously I'm partial to the laborers, but as Mike said, Local 3 is fantastic down there. And I encourage you to look at the U.S. Department of Labor website, New York State Department of Labor website that Mike pointed out, and see, what the enrollment is looking like for various apprenticeship programs. The apprenticeship programs in New York City are highly competitive. And I guess what I mean by that is often people will line up around city blocks when they have, open enrollment, for these spots. So they can be tough to get because it is a good career to have. Another thing I would touch on is say some trades have what are called pre-apprenticeship programs, where they work with community-based partners to provide sort of pre-training for an entry point into the trades. And so I would encourage you to look some of those up. So again, pre-apprenticeship programs, but also just check, and just sort of see like what trade, whether it's electrician, boilermaker, laborer, carpenter you might be interested in, right? And so go from there. But apprenticeship programs, pre-apprenticeship programs.
That's great. Thank you both. So sticking with the topic of jobs, we have a question that asks, in its 2020 World Energy Outlook report, the International Energy Agency forecasts that utility scale solar will fare better than distributed solar over the next year or so. Do you know how many jobs exist in New York in each of the subsectors and what's happening right now in each? And I'll let any of you who if anyone has any insight into that, please jump in.
I don't have the specific insight to that question. Thank you, Chris. But I do think that from compiling a workforce transition guide for the electric fleet industry, I think that we can take from that a comparable thought, which is what's happening in our overall trades as a general electrical literacy level is needed. So I think that, and Michael and Harrison, please sound check me on this, whether it's transmission scale or community distributed generation, I think that the same skills would apply to each. And so that while I don't have those specific broken down numbers, I can see it being the job force moving between the two fairly easily.
Yeah, I'll speak on just a Monroe County area, which is where I represent. We probably have one project going on right now, just starting up again after the unpausing of New York. They're probably going to be looking for 50 to 60 electricians alone, plus the other tradesmen on the job. I don't have their exact numbers because I don't refer them out. And then we have another one down the road in Hamlin, same thing, towards the lake, northern part of our jurisdiction. It's probably going to be another 20 to 30 persons. And those are small scale jobs. These large scale or solar projects that are come up, they're going to take hundreds and hundreds of people to do these projects. So there are opportunities. And right now there's a lot of them in the works, just not a lot of the large scale ones started.
Yeah, just weighing in. Mike is exactly right, and just to give folks an idea, I last counted a few weeks ago, but in the development pipeline, I want to say there's something like 35 or 37 grid scale solar farms in New York State development pipeline. So that's a lot of work. Not all of those are guaranteed to make it all the way through. However, a ton will, and they will need a significant amount of people to build them, maintain them, and so on and so forth. So, I can really only speak to grid scale projects, but I think the scale makes them certainly attractive for our signatory contractors or union contractors to bid on and get that work going and have our members go to work on.
Thanks, everybody. We have a number of questions kind of on a theme that I think we've touched on, but it's important, so I want to kind of raise these again just to highlight those. A number of folks have asked about how large of a job producer solar is overall, and whether it's the case that solar is the fastest growing job producer.
From the 2019 Nyserda job report, it is true that solar is growing, as I mentioned, at 6.8% versus that 3.4% that the rest of the economy is growing by. And obviously I'm not boots on the ground, so again, I'll refer to Michael and Harrison from what they've seen in their day-to-day experience.
All right. On that, yeah, there's a lot more of our solar projects coming up, and same with all renewables. But these large scale ones, we do have we'll actually have a shortage of manpower to do all these jobs if they all hit all at once. But with it, you're going to learn your skill set for the other green renewable jobs, the energy storage that's going to come with it, the maintenance along with those programs, the charging stations, the infrastructure for the charging stations, maybe some of the other green things like lighting retrofits and all that, if you want to stick with the green energy. But these large scale projects are, like I said, they're growing. There's no way, sending 300 people out inside of a county and the need for that, it is going to be a high demand position.
Yeah, we're seeing that as well. In the renewable sector, the job growth appears to be exponential as the cost of producing, solar energy a kilowatt hour, I believe, is continuously falling. And so that makes all the other costs, they tend to go down as well. So when it's cheaper to build it at grid scale and also distributed, I think you'll see more jobs. Folks will be able to make those projects and make the numbers work better. And like Mike said, all the related industries. So let's say you have a municipality that wants to weatherize, all their buildings, right, for energy efficiency and that sort of thing. So not only are you building renewable power, but you're making it more efficient as well. So that's another sort of, growth area in renewable, that renewable related fields that is part of the construction industry.
Great. So Mike, Harrison, I want to pose one more jobs related question to you first, and we've got some great community benefits questions that have come in that I want to get to next. But before we do, how long does a pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship program last? How long does it take to be a fully qualified tradesperson?
All right, I'll tell you how the electrician the one is. So the electrician program is a 5-year program, 8,200 hours of on-the-job training, and 5 years of related instruction, and that's that. The pre-apprenticeship program, we have great ones. We have one in Rochester called the MAP program, the Multi-Apprenticeship Prep Program. We go to the underserved communities and try and recruit there to teach them the skills, not just to become an electrician. We introduce them to all the different trades, and most of the communities have something similar to that. Some of those are 6-month programs somewhere there. They walk them through based on the program. There's federal funding to support all those, and that's a great recruitment opportunity for the building trades as well.
Yeah, there are a couple different ways to get bites at the apple, but generally, I believe the bare minimum is 1,000 hours of on-the-job training. And in the union programs, they take the hands-on approach very seriously and combined with classroom learning as well. So you get the best of both worlds there.
And you mentioned before that this is at no cost. This is paid work throughout that time, right?
Right. It's paid work throughout that time. You start out at a lower rate, and usually as you work through your years of apprenticeship, it's based on a percentage of journeyman scale as you go through. So as you learn more and you know more, you get paid more. So these are definitely earn while you learn, while you're going through the programs, and you're building benefits as well during the process.
Sounds like a great deal. Got a question for you, Haylee. On what basis were the community benefits that you noted determined? Is it just straight negotiation with the developer, and how does the community decide what's reasonable to ask in that context?
Sure. I think that there's a little bit of give and take, and sometimes it's a little bit of me maybe encouraging an ask. So I'll bring up another community just kind of along that lines. They are working at an earlier stage in the negotiations of their community benefit agreement. And they want to put eventually lights on their sports fields at a park, but they don't have an electrical line that draws out to the park from the road. And so what we've been trying to go for is that they get a solar PV array, because there's also room at that park for that, to offset their municipal energy use. But then they would have a transmission line that would go out that then they could at the right time tap into or potentially include the sports fields lights as a part of that. So I don't think that there is a clear answer, rather than just making sure that you do have input from all parts of the community to make sure you're not leaving something out that could be repaired, like a cemetery. And then I think a lot of times it depends on the developer that you have in your host community. Some are more flexible than others. And I think that perhaps that if you're in a community where you don't have as flexible of as a developer, going back to that bubble of gathering stakeholders and resources to try to see who you can pull in and assist with that.
Thanks, Haylee. And so related to that, are the community benefits that you're talking about, are they infrastructure needs generally? And related to that, how do the residents of Mount Morris get reduced bills? Are they part of CCA?
Actually, in Mount Morris, I'm sorry if this was confusing on my part, those specific residents don't receive a reduction on their energy bill, as that project is still part of the Article 10 process. Any new projects that go forward with the Accelerated Renewable Energy Act will receive direct reductions on their energy bill or on that host community or a comparable environmental benefit. However, in Yates County, where they do have that 10% reduction, you're exactly right. They would have to sign into that, well, not a CCA, but a community solar agreement for that situation.
And Haylee, maybe you could speak to what the difference is between the Article 10 process and the new act.
Absolutely, be happy to. And also I have included some links to that. And if you have further questions, you can absolutely follow up with me after and we can get into it more, either from what it means at a planner perspective, community perspective, or a code enforcement perspective. But the main difference is that the process will be streamlined through what they're calling the office that will be housed at, I believe, the Department of State. And although they were switching it, so pardon me if I'm wrong. But the main difference is that there will be the specific a utility discount if they're a part of that new program. The developer has to put in a certain amount per megawatt that will be directly for the benefits. There will also be workforce transition programs in the new act if the project is hosted in a potential environmental justice area. So getting to the just transition that Harrison was mentioning earlier. Some small things like setbacks have changed, and a developer can choose if they want to opt in if they're within 20 to 25 megawatts, whereas Article 10 applies to over 25 megawatts. And so what I think is encouraging is I'm encouraging municipalities and communities to really look at engaging in the new act process if they do have a project already in Article 10, perhaps switching it because it may provide more inherent community benefits, such as the reductions that you don't have to then go through a CCA to achieve.
Thanks, Haylee. And to follow up with one more sort of on that theme, for anyone on the webinar who is a municipal leader, where could they go to learn more about large-scale solar? And what would you recommend their kind of first step be if they want to host a project in their community?
Absolutely. So right now, one exciting thing is that the office will be seeking sites for brownfield redevelopment, and the host benefit agreements that will go with that will be predetermined. So the community will be able to do what I was mentioning of kind of creating their narrative and their ask before the developer comes. And so right now, if a community thinks they have any brownfield or redevelopment sites, I'd encourage them to get in touch with the office. Hutan Muveni is going to be the executive director. Right now, if you're a community looking to learn more about local laws and how you can tighten those up, Nyserda offers both a solar municipal toolkit as well as a battery energy storage. And the people at Nyserda's Office of Siting right now are very willing to work with you at a moment's notice and help your community craft those local laws, even to fit your own laws and needs as well. And then from there, if you want to get into more specific information, as Harrison also mentioned earlier, you can go to the Public Service, New York State Public Service, and you can see all of the generation projects that are in docket and where they stand in the process, whether they're in public engagement, final negotiating phases, etc.
Thanks. And of course, it wouldn't be 2020 if we don't talk about the ongoing pandemic. And we have a question that I think is for each of our panelists. What policies or programs is the solar energy industry suggesting to New York State to encourage a robust recovery in the solar market, either through the New York Solar Energy Industry Association, ACE New York, or other channels? And I would actually add a little broadly, any kind of curious to hear each of your thoughts of kind of how we're going to ensure a robust recovery in the solar energy in the coming months and hopefully not, but possibly years.
I can start on that. As far as the developing, a lot of these projects are in the pipeline. The funding is some of it's already there to start these projects. There might be some problems with acquiring the solar panels based on whether they're coming from overseas and whereabouts they are shipping them in and things like that. But these projects are on the way. And once again, once they're up and running, they are money makers, or, they're not doing all these large scale projects out of the goodness of the heart. They're people looking to make profits with them, with community benefits. They have to sell them to the communities. And that's the key, is make sure the community is taken care of along with these large scale projects, and the developers and whatnot do have to make a profit. And under these times, they're going to be looking to make that profit. People aren't going to stop using electricity, and it's something that's going to need to come. And there might be extra funding to kickstart these things, since they are shovel ready, they've been planned, they're ready to go.
I can speak to our project specifically. It's a 100 megawatt project that I was very concerned was not going to make it, but everyone is still in and everyone's very excited about it. And as Mike said, they're looking to make a profit and they're going to stick through it. And it is profitable. It's a good business to be in. It's the way forward. For the communities as well. I mean, we're concerned about our restaurants, we're concerned about our hotels, and within the coming year, we're going to have hundreds of people flooding to our community to build this project. That means great revenue for our restaurants, means great revenue for our hotels. It means great revenue for our people who need even part-time work until they can get their jobs back and get off their feet. It's a good jump start to the community. It's a good way to kickstart after the COVID-19.
Great. Well, I think we're getting close to the end of the hour here, so we're going to wrap up. I want to first of all thank all of our participants for joining and for all of the very, very interesting and insightful questions. I want to thank each of our speakers for joining us today. You've been wonderful. And I would encourage folks too, if you have any additional questions, to visit us at usesny.org. There's a contact us page you'll see there. We can put you in touch with any of these speakers. We can answer your questions, connect you to specific resources, and we'll go from there. And to the extent there are any questions we didn't get to, please follow up with us, and we'd love to discuss any of these issues and more. So everyone, thank you again very much for joining us. Oh, and I should mention too that the recording will be available as well on our website at usesny.org. And so if you weren't able to catch everything or you want to watch again, you can do that there. Thanks, everyone.